This ancient device was the first step toward modern computers. Imagine a time before the internet, before smartphones, before any of the technology we now take for granted. It was a world of manual labor, no instant communication, and no quick information at our fingertips. Hard to believe, right? But let me take you on a journey back in time to a device that laid the foundation for everything we use today. The abacus. The abacus. The first computing device. Before computers were ever a thing, before people could dream up the possibility of sending messages across the world in seconds, there was the abacus. Created thousands of years ago, the abacus was the first known device used for performing mathematical calculations. What's crazy is how this simple tool set the stage for everything we now associate with computing. Imagine, no wires, no screens, just a few beads and a frame. It might seem primitive by today's standards, but in its time, it was revolutionary. What makes the abacus even cooler is that it wasn't just used by one civilization. The abacus existed in various forms in ancient Egypt, Greece, and even China. It was used for everything from commerce to science, and in a way, it could be seen as the very first computer. Imagine walking into a store a couple thousand years ago, and instead of a calculator, there's a guy moving beads on a wooden frame to keep track of your purchase. That's the magic of the abacus, turning simple beads into the groundwork for what would eventually become the most complex digital machines in the world. But here's the thing. It's not just about the historical significance. The skills developed from this device are still taught in many countries today as a way to enhance mental math skills, showing how timeless its impact truly is. The cool part? Even though we've advanced far beyond it, the abacus is still a living relic of human ingenuity that changed the world forever. Without it, the digital revolution we know today might never have happened. The analytical engine, the father of computers. Now let's jump to the 19th century. No more beads, no more wooden frames, but something far more complex. Charles Babbage's analytical engine. Imagine an invention that's so ahead of its time that, even though it was designed in the 1830s, it would still be considered cutting-edge today. Babbage's machine is often called the father of modern computing. It was a mechanical computer that, in theory, could perform any calculation that could be represented in a sequence of operations. While it never fully came to life in Babbage's time, the design of the analytical engine had all the elements we now associate with modern computers. An arithmetic logic unit, ALU, memory, and even a control flow. Basically, it was the prototype for everything from your laptop to your smartphone. If you think about how long ago this was, it's mind-blowing. This was the 1830s, a period when steam engines were just getting their feet wet and most people hadn't even imagined electricity yet. Yet, Babbage had already envisioned a world where complex calculations could be automated. His designs included the use of punch cards, which are the same kind of punch cards used later by the first computer programmers. She created algorithms for the analytical engine that were designed to be executed by the machine, long before electronic computers even existed. It's pretty wild to think that a woman in the 1800s was already writing code for a computer that was never even built. That's some serious foresight. The Turing machine, the brain behind modern computers. Fast forward a bit to the 1930s, and you've got one of the most influential figures in computing history, Alan Turing. You've probably heard his name before, but let's break down why he's so crucial to the modern world. Turing didn't build a physical computer. Instead, he conceptualized what would become the theoretical foundation for everything we understand about computation today, the Turing machine. The Turing machine is a theoretical device that could simulate any algorithm or computation process. It's like the ultimate what-if machine, a machine that could compute anything if you gave it the right instructions. While no one ever built an actual Turing machine, the concepts behind it laid the groundwork for the digital computers that would eventually shape the modern world. It's a crazy thought, isn't it? That a theoretical concept created almost 90 years ago still governs how we think about computers today. It's kind of like Turing wrote the blueprint for all computers, even before we had the technology to build them. Now let's get real. Turing's impact goes far beyond just his contribution to computers. He's also considered the father of artificial intelligence. That's the kind of legacy that truly changed the world. Without Turing's theories, we probably wouldn't even have a concept of a smartphone, let alone smart anything. The ENIAC, the first true electronic computer. By the 1940s, computers were starting to take a more recognizable form. Enter the ENIAC, electronic numerical integrator and computer. Built in 1945, the ENIAC was the first truly programmable digital computer. Sure, it took up an entire room, and it was as far from the sleek laptops and smartphones we have today as you can imagine. But it was a game changer. It was the first machine that could be reprogrammed to solve different types of problems, as opposed to just performing one fixed task. Imagine that. This massive room-sized machine could handle complex equations for scientists working on things like atomic bombs, weather forecasting, and calculations for engineering. But as impressive as ENIAC was, it wasn't perfect. It had issues, like the fact that it required a whole team of engineers just to run it, and that it was filled with vacuum tubes that would burn out constantly. Still, its groundbreaking design paved the way for the computers we know today. Think of it like this. ENIAC was like the grandparent of modern computing. Big, clunky, a little temperamental, but essential in making everything that came after it possible. The microprocessor, the revolution that made personal computers possible. Now, let's talk about the invention that made personal computers possible. You can't really talk about modern computing without mentioning the microprocessor. Without it, you wouldn't have the computers we use today, and honestly, you probably wouldn't even have the internet. The microprocessor, invented in 1971 by Intel, was a game changer because it put an entire computer's brain onto a tiny chip. Before this, computers were big, bulky machines with massive parts and wires. But with the microprocessor, all the computing power could be contained in a single, tiny component. This was a huge leap forward, and it made personal computers feasible for the first time ever. The first personal computer that used a microprocessor was the Altair 8800, released in 1975. It didn't look like much, just a box with switches, but it was the beginning of the personal computer revolution. It's wild to think that all of today's smartphones, laptops, and even gaming consoles stem from that one tiny chip. If you're holding a smartphone in your hand right now, thank the microprocessor. Computing has come a long way from the abacus, hasn't it? And yet, every leap forward builds on the ideas and inventions that came before. We've come from simple beads on a frame to devices so powerful that they fit in our pockets. Who knows what the future of computing holds, but one thing's for sure. It all started with something small, whether it was an abacus or a microprocessor. It's all part of the same story, one that continues to unfold. So, next time you grab your phone or power up your computer, remember, this entire digital world has roots that go back centuries. If we could trace the timeline from the abacus to the modern computer, we'd see just how far we've come. And who knows? The next big leap could be just around the corner.